It's time we reviewed something concrete, and it's one of our old friends, a truck mixer. This one comes in a branded box of the company BetaMix, which is making concrete pouring to a whole new level. BetaMix is a Turkish company, and according to the box, the mixer is a BT901 Pro, and it's mounted on a Mercedes-Benz Arocs 8x4 chassis. Turning the box over, we see the models made by NZG and it's model number 1078.
Let's weigh it up.
Going straight to the weighbridge with the box, and it's 1 pound 9 ounces, and that is 715 grams. And yes, the next step is to open the box and see what's inside, even though we can already see what's inside. The box is BetaMix branded, but it is also an NZG box style. And inside the box we have this complex packaging arrangement. Now if you want, you can cut the tape at the bottom, but with this type of packaging that's not really the best thing to do. So let's give some different instructions to the technician and actually cut the tape at the top. By doing that we can then get a grip of the plastic former, and if we do get a grip we can fold it forwards and then lift the model out. There's no assembly to do because it is complete out of the box.
Let's weigh it up again.
We use the giant hand crane to get the truck mixer onto the weighbridge, and it's nearly 1 pound 4 ounces. What is 555 grams? Just a reminder that you can see a lot more about models on the Cranes Etc. website, and the link to it is in the video description below. Also, if you want to know where you can buy scale models, then you can click on links on the website, including those in the shopping mall. And listed here are dealers that sell models in countries across the world. As usual, we start underneath to look at the Arocs chassis. At the front, the modelling of the steering is functional, and the underside of the engine and gearbox can be seen. The transmission shaft to the rear axles is modelled and has nice differentials. And if we turn to the tyres, the tread pattern seems to be pretty much similar on front and rear axles. The roof of the Arocs cab has air horns and big beacon lights, and there are two nice small aerials. There's a plastic grab rail around the edge, and there are mirror cams instead of mirrors. The roof light is properly glazed, so you can properly look through it. The detail inside the cab is very good, and there's a two-tone fascia visible through the windscreen, which also has windscreen wipers. The Arocs grille is distinctive and modelled really well. There's a large Mercedes logo, very nice lights, and there's also a dummy number plate. The cab doors have seals around the windows, and there's also an exterior step and door handle. Textured steps lead up to the cab, and there's a very nicely modelled exhaust stack behind the cab. The front wheels are typically smart, and there's also some highlighting on the wheel arch, but there's no branding on the tyres. The metal water tank has BetaMix branding, and the water gauge is also represented. There's also what seems to be an emergency stop button, with a small cabinet below it. Looking inside, you can see that the drum motor is modelled, and the rear wheel arches have a nicely textured surface, and there's a wheel chock at the front. The rear wheels also look convincing, and there's a decorated extension chute permanently fixed. The metal drum itself is a robust metal part, and it's got attractive BetaMix branding, and that's applied on each side. The bearing ring is also modelled. At the back, the feed hopper is metal, as are the railings and access platform, although they do look slightly fat for the scale. There are nicely perforated splash guards, but looking into the drum you can see that the end is solid, rather than having an opening which would have looked better. Below the feed hopper the structure is all in metal, and the chute and swivel is also metal, including the extension piece. Below the chute there is a usable towing hitch, and the highlighted rear lights look pretty decent. There's a metal bumper bar with highlighted ends. Between the wheels there's a very good looking part of the exhaust system, and behind the cab you can also see the rear end of the engine block. Starting underneath, and the rear wheels spin very freely, as do the front wheels. There is linked steering on the front two axles, although the linkage is not quite mechanically perfect, but it's nothing that can't be slightly adjusted by a hand. As a truck mixer, the metal drum gives the model a good weight, and that helps it to travel along in a straight line very nicely. We will now set the steering to get a good pose, and the model achieves a reasonable steering angle. One thing it's always nice to do on a model like this is to spin the big metal drum. Here the model engineering is really good, and the drum spins really well without too much friction. There are a couple of other features at the rear of the model, and the first is a fold down access ladder, and the second is the adjustable chute. It's mounted on a swivel so it can point any which way, and the extension chute works well too. But it's not height adjustable, although in practice without the chute extended it does back up nicely to a Schwingstetter concrete pump. BetaMix builds these truck mixers in Turkey in conjunction with the Schwingstetter group. NZG has produced a very solid and robust quality model, and as usual it has a very high metal content. Both the detailing and functionality is very good, and as always a model like this always looks particularly good when paired up with a concrete pump. Overall it's rated as very good.